Spirit Switchboard, airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 New Orleans.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on Spirit Switchboard. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Network, 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. Today on the show, I have Lisa, Krick, and Nicole Tito of Ghostly Voices, paranormal investigators that are a team, part of a team, co-founders of Ghostly Voices. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
It was like counting out the days for Christmas. I was excited about having you and Lisa on the show.
I say, no, Lisa might be having some, is she still frozen down there?
Lisa might be having a little bit of difficulty with her connection, but we'll just keep working on it in the background.
Oh, she came through. It's like an EVP.
I'm telling you, this is ridiculous. I don't know what sort of black hoodoo's working in the background, but
it's all the big excited energy. It was like the lead up to this.
Oh, I keep freezing up, guys.
If you shut your video off, maybe, then it won't take as much bandwidth. Although I know we all want to see you.
Part of the experience.
Right. I love the owl behind you.
Thank you. So I wanted to do this episode about EVPs. And when I was doing a little bit of research, I found your website. And to be completely transparent, when I hit the blooper page and it was the blooper with the raccoon, I'm like, I'm all in. I'm all in. Please come on my show. I was so excited once I heard that. And it was having that sense of laughter and play and sense of humor, still being professional in your approach, but having that sense of play is super important as well too, and going with the flow, because you just don't know what's going to happen. When I was looking through the Ghostly Voices website, saw that you guys had teamed up, did some EVPs that worked really well. How did you originally team up? How did you guys connect?
Gosh, how many years ago has it been? I think it's almost been 20 years now.
We're not old enough for that.
We met through, we had joined Dale Kazmarik's group, Ghost Research Society, just outside of Chicago back in the day. And we just instantly clicked. I think Lisa joined a year before I did. And I joined alongside like my cousin. And like I said, we just kind of instantly clicked. We both like to do audio type of things. I don't claim to be an expert by any means. We're always trying different things. But like you said, like the flow and the connection of our energy between us just really worked. We would sit down and do EVP sessions and get things relatively quickly. I was just looking, I'm in the process of writing like an EVP Estes Method book. And a lot of our EVPs that we've captured, some of the best ones, we've gotten within like the first few minutes of a session. So it's just interesting to see. I don't know if the experts are excited to talk to us.
Okay, that was going to be where I go with that. Do you feel that because they're in spirit doesn't mean that they lose the qualities of who they were, right? Like they maintain those qualities of who they were. So they're going to have the same sort of, pick up the same sort of vibes where they don't like someone or they like someone, they want to engage or not engage, if they are intelligent spirits that are wanting to connect, right? So is it the way the two of you vibe that makes it a flow for them to want to connect as well too? Like depending on where you are, would that not be a possibility?
With you saying they keep their same qualities, some of them are not so much qualities. I say if they were an a-hole in life, they're an a-hole in death.
Yes.
And because I've been to locations where I've encountered those dudes, and they're normally dudes. They're not women. We have one woman that's like that I can think of that we've encountered. But there's a place at Mineral Springs where we were doing one of our very first investigations up in what's called the suicide room. And we were up there, and we had, when we started out, we had the same equipment. We had the same audio recorder. We had the same everything. And so I was sitting on one wall and Nicole's sitting on another wall, probably 8 feet away from me. And my K2 meter shoots up, and I went, well, hello. And she goes, what's going on? And I said, my K2 meter shut up. And she goes, oh, come over here and sit by me. And we didn't hear anything. But when we played it back, my audio recorder picks up after I say, well, hello. You hear a male voice say hello. And then Nicole, and I don't hear anything else on my recorder at all, except for her say, well, come over and sit by me. And she didn't pick up the hello that I got. And then when she said, come over and sit by me, her audio recorder picked up F you.
Oh, dear.
So we're like, she's like, how can you cussed at me? And I go, I don't know. Maybe she doesn't like Catholics. Who knows?
and maybe so, right? And I find that fascinating. And I really appreciate when you say, like, you don't claim to be an expert. I'm right. The same way. I do not claim to be an expert, because I think that we're going to constantly be learning. We're constantly going to be having that push and challenge us. And we can't, it's a deep dive rabbit hole that we're not ever really going to know all the answers, but have some really cool experiences along the way. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we learn from each other. Like, I love being open with other teams or groups if we ever get to a chance to investigate, because I'm like, oh, they might ask a question or something that I didn't even think about. So I love sharing our evidence, or, if people try to debunk it, like, I'm open for that discussion, because that's how we can learn from each other.
Right. And it's not always easy to find the right group of people that want to be all kumbaya in the sandbox. Like, there's such a competitive aspect to it too, unfortunately, just like high school.
Yeah, you can work with them once or twice, and you're like, I don't need this in my life. I'm too old for this.
Right.
But no, you find people that you vibe with, and it sounds really goofy, but you are on the same vibrational wavelength, and I got body chills. Woo! Okay, thank you, Spirit. I'm saying the right thing. And Nicole's going, here we go with the woo-woo.
Yeah, I love it. So we all have a towel. We all have a towel. Mine is and my daughter sees me drop my head to my shoulder, and she's like, no, Mom, no.
Don't do it, Mom.
Don't do that right now.
Let it go. But you have these people that you work with that you just, like Nicole said, you just click, and you get really good evidence, because you're almost one. And we've been really lucky in that Nicole and I work like that well together, and her husband and another guy in our group are like she and her husband are Aries, and me and this other guy are Geminis. And I think that's why we work really well. I know it sounds goofy, but I think that's why we really work well together, is because my dad and my sister are Aries. So I'm used to them. So I know how to work with them. So I don't know. I'm just like foaming at the mouth now, but I think it's a vibe thing. And if you work well together, you're going to get good stuff. You may hit dry patches, but you're normally going to get good stuff. If you don't work well together, it's going to be a quiet night.
Well, so again, that leads to, if you're not jiving, right? If there's tension, you tend to hold your breath. And when you're holding your breath, it's creating that stress vibe, right? You're holding your breath, and it shuts things down.
And I think it shuts down, like with the spirits, they could sense that in a way. And, we really never go into locations and taunt the spirits. I mean, even if it's, it's a bad place, like an old jail, we still go in with an open mind. And I think that helps. I mean, if something's trying to jump on us or attack us, we might get a little bit more aggressive and protect ourselves. But they were once a human. So I'm thinking I'm going to go in there and be polite. And If you don't want to talk to me, so be it. I'll move on.
Yeah.
And having a healthy respect, knowing that they were a living person that had a story and you don't know their story. And that's really why we're there, to be nosy, right? Is to be nosy and ask their story and to understand who they are, why they're there, the location, the history of it. There's so many layers to it, right?
Yeah.
And do you find, is it possible that some of that electronic voice phenomena is projected thought as well too?
That's Nicole's thing. I don't tend to agree with that, but Nicole.
I'm just posing the question. I'm not sure if I believe it either, but I mean, it's a question to discuss, right? Like,
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. And then even just like, it's hard. I don't know.
Because we go in hoping. We try not to have an expectation, right? We try not to have that high intention, low attachment sort of concept, right? We're going in just to see what's going to happen. So if we're projecting that out, are they giving us what we want sometimes too? Not that we want to be cursed at, but it's certainly.
That's what's so fun about going into a location that you really don't know anything about, because you can't project that. You can't project not knowing. I mean, everybody knows Waverly Hills. Everybody knows there's a TB sanatorium, and you know what you're going to get going in there. So you know kind of what to expect from it. But if you're going into a private residence where you don't know anything, or you're going to a different part of the world where you don't know anything about this place, somebody just goes, hey, let's go check this out. How can you project that?
So I don't know. I mean, I have a different perspective too, because as a medium and as a sensitive, I tend to not get told stuff anyway, depending on where we're going, unless it's I get kind of kept in the dark anyway. But I went to a very famous location in California where there's an expectation of what the storyline is going to be and what you're going to connect with. And I went a whole different direction, because that's how I work. And because it went in a totally different direction, they wanted to keep it shush because it didn't keep in the storyline of what that location is branded and known for. So even though it was accurate and correct, and we were picking up all this information that was evidential and could be validated, it was a no-go because it wasn't connected to the storyline that's branded with that location. So again, it just depends on the location, if they're open to exploring more and going deeper, because do they really want to know more?
Right.
Or do they want to stay in that line, right?
That's sad to me.
It was sad. It made me want to poke my eyeballs out. Like I was a very frustrated puppy.
Yeah, I bet.
Very frustrated puppy. And because if you are sensitive, you're picking up on their energy as well too. So all of those spirits that have been quieted, not having the opportunity to talk, my head felt like it was going to explode by the time I was out of that location, because they were finally getting an opportunity to be heard too. So with those EVPs, do you find that, are you hearing them real time, or are you hearing them afterwards?
I feel like most of the EVPs we've captured have been after the fact. I'd probably maybe say 80%, 20. So maybe like 20% of the time we hear those disembodied voices or noises. And that's been over.
How do you tag, so if there's people that are listening that haven't, experienced EVPs or done an investigation at all, understanding how to do an EVP session properly.
So we'll start off. I mean, I always say wear a watch if you can. We'll start the recorder. I'd say start it as soon as you can, like even before you sit down, maybe even in the location that you want to investigate. Just get it started, put it on the ground or someplace secure. One of my big pet peeves is people that wave it around, just because a lot of the times you're going to hear scratch noises depending on where the microphone is, depending on the movement, and that could sound like a growl or something. It could sound something like weird. So I say set it down, announce yourself. I always have everybody say their name out loud. just so you can kind of know their voice. After you've been working with people for years, you'll get to kind of know their nuances and voice. But if you have anybody new, just announce your name.
Well, getting the name back from a spirit too is a big woohoo.
They say their name while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I would say where you're at. So when you go to re-listen to your sessions, that you'll be like, oh, okay, I was in the upstairs studio. It's 8:45 local time. Because if you have equipment going on in the room, let's say you have like an SLS camera or a video recorder, you could kind of like do like the time, the duration, and see like if something happened, like, hey, what time was that? And then like try to like correlate with what you got on your audio recorder. And then never whisper. Me and Lisa will yell at you because whispering, it doesn't sound like you. And then you think it's like some malevolent spirit. It's just you whispering. So say it out loud and tag everything. Even if you don't think somebody can hear it, your stomach will sound like a demon grumbling when you go to listen to it. And especially with these newer recorders, I mean, they're not too expensive, I feel, nowadays, and they pick up everything.
Yeah.
I mean, and try to listen to your recordings as soon as possible. I feel the longer you wait, you forget about the session. And
you mentioned that on your website as well too, like the person who is doing the EVP should be the person that is reviewing it.
I do recommend that. If you want a second opinion about something, I mean, you could always clip it and then send it to the team. That's what we do. If I'm not sure what it's saying and I don't want to be biased, I'll send the clip to Lisa and the rest of our team. Like, what do you think it says? And just be mindful what you name it. Because if you name it like the Help Me EVP, then they're already, I mean, they open the clip, they're going to be like, oh, it says Help Me. So I always try to like, Studio B EVP, and then I can see what they think. Because sometimes we hear completely different things, and I was like, I don't hear that at all. But that's the beauty in it. Like, we all sense things and hear things differently. And I think I do have Marion on our team. I feel like other people are good at other things, but I can hear things very well, because people will be like, how did you pick up on that? And I'm like,
okay. So, I mean, I have a question. I always have lots of questions. My question is, I don't know why, I don't even know why I have the question that I do, but when you hear, so that's a Class A EVP, what's not a Class A EVP, and do they have class names for it? So it's a class.
I mean, they do have
B and C, but nobody talks about them.
Oh, so nobody talks about them. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean,
well, I just feel
we typically don't like to be like, this is a Class A. We like to put it out there.
And I don't know why that annoys me when I hear that. I don't know why it bugs me. I just like,
And I will say, like,
when people on TV say this is a Class A EVP and they play it, and then you go, I don't have a clue what that said. That is not a Class A EVP.
Yeah, so we put it on our website for people to decide. I mean, it is biased on our website because we put what we think it is. So, I mean, it is what it is, but we don't try to claim like this is an A, B, or C, or I think there's even a Class R if you reverse things.
What's a Class R? Okay, educate me.
A Class R is if you listen to your sessions in reverse, which I never do. I'll be honest, I don't. We get things in forward play that I don't listen to it in reverse.
That's a lot of time and effort.
Yeah. Some people get things and some people swear by it, but for EVP sessions, I don't.
Right.
At least I don't know if you ever did. It's just, I don't think that's our flow. We get things listening to it like in the forward motion.
I listened to one thing in reverse one time because Rosemary told me to. It was when we were in the Decatur Theater and we were doing the Ouija board thing. And I got that clacking, clicking stuff that I'm not going to kid you. It sounded like aliens to me. And she said it possibly was aliens. And after that, I went, nope, done. I'm done. So that was the last time I listened to anything in reverse.
Interesting.
And I listened to it on my computer, highest possible volume, and I use WavePad, which is helpful because I work remotely anyway. I'm a project manager, consultant, so I run 3 screens. So I'll have my wave pad on one screen, and then it's nice because it'll show like the whole like frequency, and then you could see if there's like certain,
Oh,
increase. You could be like,
yeah.
oh, so if I'm listening and it's pretty much silence, and I see like a blip, I can always kind of be like, what's that? But I
We
listen
did.
to it the whole thing.
My daughter and I did. I have an intuitive mentoring sort of group on social media, and every once in a while I'll pop on and drag my daughter on, and we do a live séance. And I mean, it's live. I don't record them, but it's live. So we encourage people when they're watching to stick their headphones in, because maybe the audio will sound better for them if they're listening with their headphones. And we did this, and I have this clip. So, the planchette is moving around, and it starts spelling out a name, Norm. And I'm saying it, Norm. And then I start laughing, and you can hear me. I'm laughing, and I don't laugh quiet. So I laugh loud, and I'm laughing, hi, Norm. And you can hear this breathy hi. But we didn't hear it during my daughter and I didn't hear it, but somebody messaged after going, you need to go back to this, because they tagged the time and said, go back to that and listen with headphones and see if you can hear it. And then you can hear it without the headphones. So even when we were doing like this live thing on Facebook with the seance, you can hear it after, and we heard it after. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. That it's over top of me laughing, because you can hear at the end of me laughing this hi from Norm, which was somebody's dad from the group, which we wouldn't have known that at the time either.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. It can be a touchy subject, right? Using a spirit board can be a touchy subject for people. My thought is,
I'm pro. Nicole's not so much.
Yeah, I'm all in as well.
Lisa gets really good things, like she was saying with one of our other investigators, Jim Williams, and he was my husband's friend growing up. So like she clicks with him on the Ouija board, where like my husband Al will click with Jim when they do Estes Method sessions. So it kind of just depends on what you're doing, like what investigative technique during your.
And I think it's the spirits too. I think they pick and choose what equipment they want to play with on certain nights, and it really varies at location and the people. It really does. And my thought process is, if we're teaching people how to use all of it properly, if you're opening and closing properly, if you are making a clear intent that we are open and we are done, and what you will allow and not allow. And I know on my board, it was a homemade board, so everything about it had an intent as it was being made. So on the back of it, I've put my protective sigils or my protective symbols on the back of it as well too. But I also have it on the back of equipment. I've like taped it and put it on the back of it, because I think it doesn't matter what equipment you use, you're opening up a door.
That's true. Very true. And that's what people don't understand. I'm like, a board is no more different than using your audio recorder. You're opening up a session, you're opening up a portal, you're opening up a space of communication, regardless of what medium you're using to open it up.
Yeah. And I get pretty angsty about opening it up properly and closing it properly. Doesn't matter what equipment, if it's the recorder or not, I get pretty angsty about it. Not angsty, but rigid thinking. No, it's one place where I'm pretty rigid thinking.
I feel like, was that Monroe House, Lisa, when you were on the Ouija board doing a session in another room, and we were in the upstairs just kind of adjacent, and we had our SLS camera, our full spectrum camera on the windowsill, and then all of a sudden it like tipped over. And of course, we all screamed. Like those people that pretend like they don't get scared. Come on. I mean, we screamed. And Lisa ran in the room with another investigator, but they kept the board open. So they were like, ah, but they wanted to make sure we were okay. And she's like, we got to go back. Shut the board down. Because
Yeah.
And that's a pretty interesting location. I'm sure we could play some EVPs from there later, but it's a bad.
That is not the place to leave the board open ever.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
we certainly, if we're in that space now, if you want to play a couple of clips, can you tell us where the Monroe House is for those of us that don't know about it?
Sure. Do you want to go, Lisa? And I'll get everything pulled up.
Well, I'll try, but it sounds to me like the spirits are going to shut me down again. But here we go. The Monroe House is in Hartford City, Indiana, and it was on, I can never remember the name of that show, but it was with Nick Groff and Katrina Weidman.
Yes.
It was a really good show. It was only on for a few seasons. They went in and saw it, and I went, oh, this looks really interesting. So I got a hold of the owners, Eddie and Pam Norris, who are fantastic people. Eddie bought the house about 20 years ago to flip. It is the longest held flip house ever. Oh no, there. See, it's the Monroe House. They're knocking me out. So anyway, this place has a dark history that it would take me like 40 minutes to talk about it, but it has a dark history, and there is there's an a-hole that lives there too. And let's just say that it started as a single family dwelling, and then it turned into a duplex, and then it turned into a triplex. And it at one time was a blind tiger, and at one time was a brothel. And a blind tiger just basically means that during Prohibition, you can go there and you can drink and you can have women. And upstairs there was a brothel in it. And the dude that is there, I'm sorry?
I've never heard that term before. The blind tiger.
Oh, a blind tiger?
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
It may be a Midwest term. I'm not sure. But yeah. So this was this guy, and this guy has messed with me for probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. But this happened when we were all upstairs, and one of the other investigators and I had just come out of the bathroom, because girls always go to the bathroom in at least pairs. So we went in and we came out, and this was the conversation that went on.
All right. So this is when we have the recorder running. So you're going to hear a male voice, and I'll play it, and then we'll kind of tell you where we think it is.
Sorry, that's me doing this.
In the bathroom.
Oh, not a very good decision.
I'm like,
Sorry.
we were just in the bathroom.
So after Lisa says, we were just in the bathroom, listen for like a whispery, breathly voice.
Sorry, that's me.
In the bathroom.
Oh, not a very good decision.
I'm like,
Sorry.
we were just in the bathroom.
So we think it sounds like a male saying, I was in there too.
Yeah, you can hear that. And it's breathy.
Yes. Which is a no-no for us. We would have been yelling if someone was whispering like that.
Yeah.
Get out of my bedroom and stop whispering. Yeah.
And
so
it's
every
just-
time I took a tour there, I would play that for them. Okay, listen, guys, this is what you're up against. No place in here is safe. And they play that, and they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because spirits don't really care if you're in the bathroom or not.
Oh no. And this, like Lisa said, there's no safe place in this house. People laugh because there's a room when you first walk in that a lot of people put their equipment on, this one right here. And they call it like this room. But we decided to spend the night, when was this? Back in April of 2019, because we didn't want to drive home, and there was 4 of us left. And I said, let me run my recorder the entire night as we sleep. And besides the snoring, I'll play this one as well. We got some footsteps coming in, and it opened one of the doors, which we're not sure which one, because when we woke up, they were both still closed. And there's a snoring. So yeah, the groans is the snoring, but that was
So
definitely
are
a
the
floor.
floors hardwood or the floors have carpet?
I think they're all hardwood, right, Lisa, or some sort of
They're all
laminate.
wood.
What was that?
Oh yeah, some of it's laminate, some of it's vinyl flooring. Upstairs
Yeah,
are
no
wooden
carpet.
floors. No, I think they came from upstairs, and it's hard to hear on that one, but they came downstairs, opened the door, walked in. You hear a female voice say, "It's okay now," and you hear somebody picking stuff up and putting stuff down.
Right.
So yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, and some of our clips, I mean, I do say they're easier to hear with headphones, and especially the quieter ones, I try to put that on the website. Like, we recommend listening
Yeah.
to these with headphones, and disclaimer, there are some of them that have vulgar language. We try to put that on there, but we get very excited, so we tend to sometimes, if things are happening in real time, react to that. So
Right. And do you think that, again, is it the amount of, if we're in a location that's investigated frequently, are we adding to that energy? Are we adding to angst? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, is it contributing to it staying? Is it helpful or hurtful, I guess?
I think we do add our own energy, and I think we bring our own baggage and hitchhikers in too that people don't realize. We all have guides, we all have ancestors who go with us wherever we go, and they may be putting their 2 cents worth in as well. But yeah, I definitely think that the type of energy you bring into a location, you're going to get back. Because if you go in with the attitude, this is not real, there's nothing that's going to happen. In the Monroe house, if you go in with that attitude, nothing is going to happen to you. But if you go into with any sort of attitude besides, this is just bull, you're going to get a reaction. I have never been to the Monroe house where nothing happened, ever. And I go there a lot. So, and I've been to other places that everybody else says, ooh, this place is amazing. We get good evidence there every time. South Pittsburgh Hospital in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. Everybody swears by that place. I got nothing. I've been there 4 times and I've gotten nothing 4 times. So it's me. It's not the location. It's just that it doesn't vibe right with me, and I don't get anything there.
And to go along with that, the longer I've been doing this, like Lisa said, I feel like it is kind of the energy and like the flow that you bring to the location. The more we investigate, I really don't like doing public investigations. I mean, I understand sometimes that's the only way to get into a location. And of course it's cheaper, or if you don't have enough people to book a private one, but I can't trust the energy and the flow that other people are bringing in, where a couple years ago, a few of us went to Mansfield in Ohio, OSR, Ohio State Reformatory. Always active. I was super excited. It was a public investigation because there was only a couple of us going. My husband had never been there. His friend had never been there. Dead. And that's like highly unusual. I was shocked. But again, I question, was it because of all the other energy that other people were bringing that was shutting the spirits down and saying, yeah, I'm not talking to anybody today. You don't know. So I do like doing private as much as I can, just because I can control the environment, because I know everybody I'm working with and I trust them. I feel like trust is a huge thing in what we do.
It is. It's huge. And I don't think, if people haven't really participated with an investigation, they're not aware that there's gaps of time where there will be nothing happening.
Very well said. Most of our night we sit around and just BS with each other. And normally that's when we get the most interaction, is because it's sort of like the spirit gets jealous and says, hey, aren't you here for me? Tap, tap, tap. It's all about me, not you guys and what you did this week. So
I'm always the snack lady.
Right. I'm going with you.
It's like, I start with the snacks. I mean, I make sure I've got all the equipment, but I'm making sure that I've got all the snacks as well too. Like, it's just, I'm the snack lady. So if we're going on investigations, I'll bring the snacks.
I love it.
Yeah, it's the tummy. It's because I know my tummy will sound like the growly thing on the recorder every time.
And
It's my tummy.
I'll kick you out. No, I'm kidding. Lisa knows my nuances. I'm very, if people can't be quiet during a session, I tend to be like, come on.
Oh yeah, no, we named my tummy Seymour because it just wants to be fed. So I know I need like those snacks to keep me going too.
Yeah. I feel you. Mine's bipolar Betty. So, she's constantly talking during whether I eat or I don't eat. It doesn't matter. She's going to make noise. So,
yeah. So can we talk about the Estes Method? You guys have done it as a double blind as well too.
We've done it a lot of different ways. We've done it as vanilla, where there's one operator and one person asking questions.
Do you want to explain, again, for anybody that may be listening that hasn't done the Estes Method before, what
Sure.
it's all about?
Okay. So the Estes Method is basically just sensory deprivation. So it goes back farther than when it got the term Estes Method. It goes back centuries and centuries. But for the Estes Method, it was developed in Estes Park, Colorado at the Stanley Hotel.
Yeah.
And there were these three friends that were sitting around, and I can never remember their names, but it's on that
Connor.
little.
Yeah.
Connor
Yeah,
is one of them. I remember that.
Carl, Connor, and Michelle. Carl,
Yeah.
Connor, and Michelle were sitting around
Yeah.
at the Stanley, and we're like, okay, everything's getting so boring. What are we going to do that's different? What can we do to spice things up? So they decided that they were going to put one person with blindfold and headphones that noise-reducing headphones that covered their entire ear. And they were going to plug that into an SB7. And then somebody else was going to ask questions that they had no idea because they couldn't hear them. And then if spirit talked to them through the SB7, then they were going to spit out whatever they said in however manner that it was said to them, spoken to them, and see if it worked to answer the questions. And lo and behold, it worked to answer the questions. And they're like, whoa. So they put that out to the world, and the world caught on, and it trickled down far enough. I did it with Richard Stepp in his group first. And then I took it to Nicole and our group, and I said, listen, this looks really cool. I don't know if it's really going to work. It worked for them, but let's try it. And we tried it, and we went, whoa, that's trippy.
Yeah.
So we also decided that because we don't like to do anything just vanilla. We always like to take it and make it our own. And that's what I tell people who are going to use the Estes Method. Take it and make it your own and run with it, because there is no wrong way to do this stuff. So we did the double blind, which is two people going under, and then at least one person, if not two. In our case, it's usually two people asking the questions. And Nicole and I will actually have conversations that we're not aware that we're having, and leave the guys out, and they'll just be quiet on the side going, what the heck? They're having this whole conversation. And when I was doing it with Richard's group, we were at the Monroe house, and we did it as what I call a triple double. So basically 3 of us were under the headphones, and 2 people were asking questions. And again, we were having whole conversations. I was threatening people because somebody jumped me that night. That was the first time somebody ever jumped me. And that was a whole different story within itself. But so we've done triple doubles, which tend to work for us. So then COVID hit, and we said, well, crap. And then the world started opening back up again in April, and I had locations that I had tours going to. So I said, okay, I'm going to take my sister with me, because Nicole and her husband live in the Chicago area, and Jim lives in northern Indiana. And the Randolph County Infirmary, which is the first place we did this at, is in Winchester, Indiana, which is northern Indiana, but it's like here, and he lives here over by Chicago. So they're all over here, and I'm here about 200 miles away. So I take my sister with me so she can pull me out when it's time to pull me out. And we got our group in there, and we decided to remote. And the way we did that was we did it over Facebook Messenger, and I was at the location, and I was under, and we as we were Facebook Messenger Live, Nicole put that up on her big screen TV and recorded it so we could see what was going on in all 3 locations. And and like so Nicole would be under and I would be under. She'd be under in Chicago and I'd be under in Winchester, Indiana. And the 2 guys would ask questions and we would, it worked. It was so, because we're all like, it's not going to work. We all have to be together.
For sure.
We didn't
It's
have It's so cool. And we've done that in several, we did it there in the Bel Air house and the Monroe house. And I mean, we've done it in a lot of different locations. I truly believe in the Estes Method. I really do. I think it's a really good medium for people to use. And it's like, I'm going to say it's like like a psychic gift. The more you use it, the better you get at it, and the quicker it happens, and the easier it becomes.
Lisa, do you find if you are already sensitive, like for me, when I do it, I can already go from here to there in a breath without any sensory deprivation. So when I do anything sensory deprivation, it's a lot, and I am zonked after as well too.
Yeah,
like I am zonked. I need a Baconator. I am so hungry when I am done. Back to food.
I would agree with that because my gifts are coming more to the forefront than they used to be, and it's funny because my mom went with me one time when we were doing a remote session, and I went under so hard that it scared her. So she bought me a cross to wear. So I wear that everywhere I go now because she's like, girl, you were white.
It's the intention and making sure that you are opening, closing, and whatever your belief system is, having some sort of protection as well.
That's a good point. Like when we did this remote, Jim was the only one. Jim's in like the top right, you see right there. He did not go under, even though he has a spirit box, just because he didn't have anybody to pull him out. So we're very cautious about like safety, because the rest of us, if something happened, we could pull him out, because we've had to pull out Lisa a few times, even just in locations like Crown Point Jail in Crown Point, Indiana. She gets jumped there all the time, and it's a location we've been to many times. The spirits know us, but we'll have to pull her out because she's getting affected. And sometimes we tell people you might not be able to pull yourself out, so make sure. I'm always weary when people want to do it by themselves. I personally get a little nervous, and you need to protect yourself.
No. Do you want to play the? You have a clip.
Yeah. So this is actually an EVP that we captured while we were doing the Estes Method. So I tell people, run your recorder because you might get an EVP. And it was captured in my home, which is by no means haunted. And this was the same the same location that we didn't capture on camera, but Jim and Lisa claimed to seeing a shadow behind us in my kitchen area while we were just talking. And so stuff was definitely coming through on my side, and it's not a haunted location. So I will play it.
But a door opened.
No, it was just a shadow walk by.
Yeah, but what she means is it
communicate with Al and Lisa at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Watch. Here it comes. It's today.
Huh. Okay.
So that watch. Was, none of us. And you know,
it goes,
there's a little.
It said watch, and I go, here it comes, and that's not. If that's creepy, I don't know what it is.
And Lisa's picture gets a little bit pixelated. Yeah, could that be technical? It could be, but it was pretty prominent at that time. Whereas the rest of the night, she didn't have too many glitches. So that was an interesting one. I'll play it again.
Are you able to communicate with Al and Lisa at the same time?
Watch.
That's brilliant.
Here it comes. It's today.
Huh.
I get chills, man. Woo!
Yeah. Do you find I tend to when it starts getting intense, I start rocking. Like I end up doing this back and forth motion. I'm not even sure why, but it seems to keep me grounded because I can feel myself, I don't know, like pulled. It's a pull. And it's
Okay.
very sensory where I'm seeing and hearing at the same time when I'm really in that zone. So I'm seeing them saying it at the same time, even though you've got the blindfold on. So it gets pretty trippy. And I find once it gets a little too intense, I start rocking, and that's about when I'm needing to be pulled out. Do you find you have,
No,
can you tell when you're needing, or do you get too far where you're needing somebody else to pull you?
usually they'll hear me cry because I will start to cry and it's not me that's crying. I'm pulling from somebody else.
Yeah.
But recently, like I just was at a little county jail in Florida, like last weekend, and I've been doing a lot of psychometry. So we were in this one cell and I was under, but I was also touching one of the bed frames in the jail cell. And that helps pull me down farther. And I could see the man like fill the jail. So I could see it in my mind's eye while he was telling me things and I was saying it out of my mouth through the head. I don't know. It's weird, but I'm now like you starting to see it too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. Those photos just crack me up with you guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to. There was one we have it when Lisa we had to pull her out. Which, when you listen to it, we sound like we're a terrible team, but we're not. Like, well, should we pull her out yet? No, she's okay. That she's kind of like sobbing.
Oh,
And we're like, yeah, keep her in
You
another
should have
minute.
heard my mom.
But you're
Mom was
getting
like,
really
"You
great
gotta pull her
evidence.
I was like, well, we'll pull out her in a minute. And then she was, I got to find that because I know we have that. You know, I feel kind of bad, but that was at Crown Point Jail. And again, like, I feel like that place is always very active for us. But
And where's Crown Point
we've
Jail?
been there so many times.
It's in Crown
It's
Point,
just outside
Indiana.
Chicago.
That's the place where John Dillinger escaped with a wooden
very
gun.
cool.
A scope gun,
Chicago's got
Mhm.
such history.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Chicago's great.
Yeah, and that's why you'll see like a lot of our locations, I mean, are from the Chicago area, the Midwest, just because that's where we live. So, Lisa was down in Indianapolis for a long time, and I was in Chicago, and I'm still right next to Chicago. So that's why a lot of these are in Illinois, Indiana. Oh, here you go. Is this one? Oh, that one. That's when you're touched. First floor hallway. Lisa, go outside. I think, is this one of it, Lisa? And it always seems to mock our one friend, Jim. I feel bad. But yeah, let's play. I think this is the one. This is the one that's telling Lisa to go outside. Lisa's physically touched. We'll play this. Lisa.
Was that somebody just moaned?
I think it was Nicole.
Okay.
That was actually
I
Lisa.
think. Where did everybody go?
Is there somewhere else in the building that we should go to? Somewhere where we can communicate with you better? Or should we stay here?
Oh, shit. Somebody just touched me.
You were supposed to touch me, not her.
Stacy or stay?
We'll stay if you'd like.
So that's one of our. Okay, this is the one. Here it is, Lisa. I don't think we have to play the whole clip, but this is where I think you start crying.
Go.
Where should we go?
Outside,
We're outside.
please.
Who needs to go?
And that's Lisa.
There's another one. I think that was Lisa again.
Are you trying to tell us it's time for a cigarette break? Do you need one?
It's close.
It's close. I've got some if you need them, but it's going to cost you. What do you have to trade?
I hear a stomach, I think.
Oh, you can start to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now. That sounded like Lisa's voice. That was really creepy. Now.
No, God.
Who needs to go?
Yeah, Lisa's not doing too good, I think, down here.
You want to pull them out?
I don't know. I mean,
Al.
Lisa would pull herself out, I think.
Al
if
has
she
to go
really needs
outside
to.
now. All right.
Are you messing with Lisa?
Oh, it's run.
No.
You're not messing with Lisa? Because it sure sounds like you're messing with Lisa.
Is Lisa okay?
No, she's huffing and puffing and making some noises down here. Hey,
Yeah,
what are you
pull
doing to her?
What?
Lisa's making some weird noises.
What?
See, she's kind of,
What did she do?
you hear her huffing, she almost sounds like she's in tears.
Oh, should we take her out? I got something wants Al to run.
You want me to take her
Has
out?
she been saying anything?
No,
really.
she's been kind of huffing and puffing.
Well,
And,
then maybe take her out.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Because I'm getting some pretty intense.
okay, Lisa?
Yeah, you're doing good.
You all right?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
what's
gotta
going
go
on?
outside.
Oh, maybe
I
Lisa's
gotta.
loud.
Holy
Go
shit.
She was just saying.
Go outside
Oh
now.
my God.
Please.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So there, I mean, yeah,
And
it could be
it's-
really.
that's fascinating to listen to. Like when you do that, I don't think people realize either. Like it really does. They are using you, so your voice changes. Your face physically
Mhm.
feels like it changes. Like,
And you can't hear each other. I had no clue what she was feeling. I was excited because I was getting stuff, but
Yeah.
you don't even know if what you're getting is relevant. So I love re-listening to a lot of these because I'm like, oh, that's what was happening, because you only hear
Yeah.
such a small piece.
And honestly, I think, Nicole, I think you would have pulled me out much sooner than they did. I mean, they'll do it quicker now, but you would have pulled me out much sooner than they did. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because by that time, you like literally ran out of the building.
So did you find once you were outside and hit that air that it helped ground you quick? Like you could slough
Absolutely.
off that energy that was attached. I mean, you're still going to feel drained for a while after, but
Yep.
And you, yeah.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
you heard me say we've been doing this for a while. So again, there's no like say how long you should do it, but the longer you do it, I mean, it is going to affect your energy more.
it truly does.
Yeah.
I know my daughter gets nervous where she starts texting people. Like when if it's, especially if it's alive and my voice starts changing, she's texting, oh my God, are you hearing my mom? do I tap her shoulder? She's texting people that are in a different location going, do I pull my mom out? Because we're doing this live, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
it's unnerving if you've not been exposed to that before, what that process can actually do.
Yeah, in the triple double we did at the Monroe House, when I did it with Richard's group, I was actually taken over by a serial killer, which was completely an unnerving experience, and his victim at the same time. And you can hear Richard on the recorder say, "Oh my God, her face, it doesn't even look like her." And then he's like, "That's not her. That doesn't even sound like her." And he's one of the most rational men that I know in the field. And for him to say that, it just gives me chills, because I'm telling you, I couldn't do anything inside myself. They just went boom, and they were there and they took over. And I was not ready for that experience at all.
Yeah, it's and again, if we're setting our intention at the beginning, like, you're allowed to, and we're giving them permission when we put ourselves in that spot. We're giving them permission to use our energy and to expose ourselves to that. I don't think people are always, I think people need to be taught that. They need to be taught that it's energetically draining. You're putting yourself in that position. And if you do not want that to happen, you don't want to be touched or feel them stepping in, it's not something you should do.
Yeah. Yeah.
If people are just joining us, we have Nicole Tito and Lisa Krick of Ghostly Voices, and you are listening to us on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Network, 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. Thanks for tuning in with us. So did you want to play another clip?
Do you want, Lisa, the Estes where I tell you to shut up? That's a pretty funny one. Is that Mineral Springs where you were holding on to
Sure.
something? I think that one's
yeah, because
funny. Were you?
yeah. I've been more and more just like grabbing a hold of stuff and holding on to it to see what kind of response I can get. And while Nicole and I were we were at Mineral Springs in the pool where supposedly this little girl had died. And I didn't feel like I was getting anything come through. So I just like reached behind me back on the table because I had like dirt from different paranormal locations that I'd been to. And I pulled one without knowing what it was and I held on to it. And then this happened.
Yeah. So me and Lisa are under and we can't hear each other. I'll play it.
Help. Male voice that time.
What can we help with?
My boy, my boy, my boy.
What happened to your boy?
Look, I don't know who that was.
Shut up, male voice.
Okay, I pull myself out because
Don't cry, male voice. Different male voices.
I feel like
So there you go.
And that's what happens a lot where they're talking to each other, right?
We get that. We get that a lot.
And
Yeah.
I find like, where there's a bully,
Crazy.
like there's one that wants to be in charge of everybody else that's in the space, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially, yeah.
And the dirt that I grabbed, I looked at it when the session was over, was from the Monroe house. So it's like everything for me goes full circle back to the Monroe house. Yeah. But here's
So
Nicole.
that's
Shut
the one
up.
that you
Stop
take
crying.
And again,
Yeah.
I can't hear what's going on. That's why people, if people who haven't done it or seen it before, like I just have my headphones on. I'm just in tune to my spirit box, just repeating what it's saying. So I don't know that Lisa was.
And they're noise canceling headphones. Like it's not just like regular old earbuds that you use. It's noise canceling for a reason, right? And
we
you
use
guys,
Right. We actually use noise reducing. I use drummers headphones. So like you can get these at any Guitar Works or somebody that sells professional equipment, and they're noise reducing. So they don't cancel it out, because if you cancel it out, you may be missing a vibration where spirit can come through. And I don't want to miss that. So I just use those.
Yeah.
And they run mine are called Krick Firth headphones. The last name is FIRTH, and they run anywhere from $75 to $80. You can get them at Amazon online. But yeah, they're a little pricey, but I've had them for, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years now, and they're still working.
Yeah. And I use same thing, isolation headphones, sometimes they're called, or noise reducing, but mine are Walker brand, but those are more for like outdoor, if you were going to go to a shooting range or listen to like a sporting event, like, NASCAR or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's the same concept as Lisa's, but just make sure there is a jack to plug things in as well, because some of those noise reducing don't have jacks.
My son, my one son, I have 4 kiddos. So my one son went to school for audio engineering. So he got me a Sennheiser, the same ones that he used for school anyway. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing. Like you really can't hear when somebody's talking to you, even you can't hear a thing. So we always do. And it's always a food joke. It's me and food. It's a thing, but like, you're asking a silly question to make sure that they really can't hear anything that's going on, just to make sure that test is there too before you get too far into it. Okay, Lisa, are you ready? Can we move on? I've been so anxious to talk to you about scrying.
Absolutely.
Just tell me, because I talk about it as a divination tool. I teach it to people, but it is a lot of practice. You have to really be able to breathe and relax and go to that in-between place to get a result when you're scrying. And it's a practice. Not everybody can do it well.
I'm going to say it probably should be a practice. I haven't done it that much to make it a practice. I think it must be one of my gifts because I picked up on it pretty easily. Rosemary Ellen Guiley taught me how to do it. She taught me dark mirror scrying, and she gave me my first. Oh no! Sorry about that. She gave me my first little dark mirror, and she blessed it. So that's got its own place up on my shelf. But so we learned with her. Nicole took that class with me. And it was interesting, but there were like 20 people in the class. So you don't really experience much with it. And then, so then what I started doing was I would do it with on my tours in my locations. Mostly I tend not to do it at Monroe House because it's a dark spirit there, but I do it at the Randolph County Infirmary. They have this room down in the basement, and Jim does this really well with me. And I pull him in with me, and we'll sit together in the dark room and we just look at the mirror and unfocus our eyes and see what comes to us. And your face will change, and your whole demeanor will change, and you'll see stuff behind you, and you'll see stuff between you, and you'll see something take over that other I mean, it's just bizarre. Mostly with that, I see images. I don't hear words, but I will see images. And I have at different times at Randolph County, like I had this one group with me, and I didn't know anybody in the group, and I took them down and I said, well, let's try this. And so we're down there, and I said, okay, if anybody wants to come through the mirror and make contact with us, go ahead and make contact with us and let us know who you are. And I get this picture in my head. It's a black and white picture of this sort of old Italian grandma. She's about 5 foot tall, and she's just like wearing this 1940s house coat, and she's got her hair up in a bun, and it's gray hair. And I see her, and she's like, she gives me kisses. And I said, I don't know who this is, and I don't know who she's here for, but this is how I see her. And she's sending her love. And this girl behind me said, I think that's my Nana. And I said, okay. She goes, and so we talked for a minute, and she said, do you see my mom? And the grandma shakes her head, and I go, no, I don't see your mom. Your grandma says no. I said, but that doesn't mean she's not in a good place, just that this is not her time to talk to you. So don't get scared about her like being in hell or, not being available to talk to you. It's not the time. But Nana sends her love. And she's like, okay. And then I said, okay, is there anybody else that wants to talk to me? And then I get this picture in my head, and I'm not kidding you, of Mary Tyler Moore when she was in the Dick Van Dyke Show. Looked just like her with the pedal pushers and the short dark hair, and looked just like Mary Tyler Moore. And so I pointed that out. And this one was in color, but it looked like it was from the 60s. And this other girl goes, that's my mom. And I said, okay. And so we went through this again. And so then after that was, and I said, okay, so is there anybody else that wants to come through? And I said, it can be people, it can be animals, it can be whatever. And I'm like, I'm always trying to get my boy. Well, I know. I'm learning, but that was early on. And I'm like, do any animals want to come through? How about my boy dog? Do you want to come through? Because I've always been trying to get him to come through, and he's never come through. And then I see in my head this black Scotty dog, and I go, seriously, black Scotty dog? Who has a black Scotty dog? And somebody in the back goes, Angus. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we went upstairs, and as we're just taking a break talking about what had happened, these two girls walked over and showed me pictures of who I had pulled in my head. And I swear to you, it looked just like the pictures I had in my head. I was floored because that's the first time I really had anything ever come through or done it even at all. So that was my first experience. And after that, I was like, right on. This is really cool. And I'm going to do this as much as I can, but I have to have people with me. I won't do any of this stuff by myself because, well, one, I'm chicken.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean,
I
I
it's
love dark
making
mirror
sure
scrying.
again, it's
The
that
best.
intention in making sure that you're opening and closing it proper, because
Yeah.
that's one in particular with a mirror where things can
Yes.
certainly come crawling through that you don't want crawling
Yes.
through.
Absolutely. Yeah. And since then I have sort of set my intentions before I go sit down, and, we'll say I need this to be for the higher good, nothing, I don't want any low vibrations. I don't want any sort of anything, only for the higher good. Can you come through? And then we will close down the session when we're done. And yeah, I'm like you said at the beginning, it's all evolution. We all learn from everything we do, and
Exactly.
hopefully we can evolve every time we do our experiences together, and we can evolve from it and grow from it and reach a higher spiritual level through it.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's always having a plan A, B, C, and D. So should things go sideways, this is, from experience, how we're going to approach that. And, just making sure that there's some sort of backup plan should something go sideways, how you're going to, because you don't want to go in panic mode when you're in that moment, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Especially with scrying.
Yeah. But it's so cool.
It's so cool.
cool.
I absolutely love it. I love everything. I love everything about it. I recently did a big theater event, and when I went to check out the theater, they're showing me to the back room into the green room. They called it the green room, and they opened the door, and I go to stand in, and I went, "Oh my goodness! Do you know what you guys have done?" So it's this tiny little closet of a green room where there was mirrors facing in on every and I'm like, oh my god, it just hummed. Like you could feel it when you went in, that there was, like, I couldn't even step in. I'm like, this is fun. We are gonna use this as a psycho mansion, and we are gonna do a second. We are going to do a second event, and we are going to project that onto the wall so everybody out in the theater seats can see what's happening. So we have that.
That's nice.
Yeah. Yes. And again, though, having a plan A, B, C, and D in case something goes sideways, right? And how we're going to approach that. But when I do scrying too, or even when I'm teaching it, again, I have the sigils that are on the back, or, what I would use as a protection symbol as well too. And when you're blessing it or setting your intention, having those symbols on the back as well too, just that extra layer that feels like a comfort zone for me when I'm using any of those tools.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic idea. I think I need to incorporate something like that into mine. The thing is though, I don't normally use my own mirrors. I use mirrors at locations. So like the Velisca Axe Murder House, I used that mirror in that bedroom where the two little neighbor girls stayed. That was interesting.
I still would have your own mirror with you.
Yeah.
Where you can shoot it back at. Yeah. If something's coming through that maybe is something you're not wanting to deal with, then you've got an extra piece that shoots it. Yes, exactly. That you're sending it back, right?
Okay.
Sending it back where it needs to go.
That's a great idea. I shall do that. I am learning.
And that's it. We all get to learn from each other too, right? Like, hopefully we're open to learning new things all the time. And with the EVPs, it's something, I think for me, I don't necessarily, the ADHD part of me is like, oh my gosh, if we record for 2 hours straight, that means I got to listen to this for 2 hours later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a commitment. You are committed.
Yeah. And you could always break it up, but I mean, however long you record and however many recorders, you got to it, because if you don't listen or know. Yeah,
it's a lot. Can we talk about the screech?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Let's
gosh.
talk about the screech.
So I feel like, Lisa and I have been talking about this for years, and then we finally made a website page not too long ago, maybe like a year ago. And I sat down and I tried to see if there was some sort of pattern or anything that was going on. But looking at it through the years, and this is the first time, and I'll play this in a minute. It was back in 2009. We've captured this kind of screech, breath-like sound, and it started off on various pieces of equipment. So I've got it on my recorders. I'm on video cameras. We also got it on another teammate's camera. So we're just trying to get it out there to see if other teams or other people have caught this, because it's too weird to just be a coincidence. Is it something following us? Is it our spirit guide or something trying to like interact with us? We don't know, but it's almost identical on different recorders. So I can't just chalk it up to it being mechanical.
Right.
Sometimes it's heard in real time. Sometimes
Are
it's
there
not.
other things happening at the same time? Like
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So I really haven't found a distinct. The only thing I have noticed is it seems like when we capture it, we get a lot of evidence that day at that location, but it's hard. I haven't found like a common, similarity that could be like, okay. So I
Thread.
decided to put them all together. We have a short and a long clip, and I've captured it 29 times that I've put together since 2009. So if you go on this, you'll see where it started. We got into Waverly Hills in June 2009, and the last time was just recent at the Lamont Historical Society in my town, and that was in March of 2023. So I'll play it, and again, sometimes it sounds exactly the same. And again, it's not just on my recorders. It's on different ones. It's on cameras. It's weird. So I will play the short clip.
That's crazy.
Okay. That we asked was like, I forgot what we asked. The first one.
Showering.
Yeah. So, and sometimes we do react to it. Sometimes we do hear it in real time, but that's usually not the norm. We usually don't hear it. As you could tell, like sometimes we're talking right over it. But go ahead. Sorry, Lisa.
My official determination is that it's a pterodactyl. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
An alternate reality where it's slipping through in a time warp, something,
It's
well,
just,
one of the
it's
first
weird.
one of the first places we caught it was in Alton, Illinois, and they have I can never pronounce it right. Is it the Pisa bird or some American Pisa bird? And we're like, was that the Pisa bird we got? Because I would think because it's a huge mythological bird, wouldn't it? I don't know.
And I thought so too. I'm like, okay, it came from us from Southern Illinois, but like when I look back, we really did get it first at Waverly in June of 2009. We got it the most at Mineral Springs.
Yeah,
because I got it on my camera
3-4 months before we got it at Mineral Springs.
Yeah. And in Mineral Springs, we got it a lot, both on my recorder and Jim Grodchek's. So I don't, and it's not, I mean, I know I just made the noise that sounds like it, but I mean, if you click on these, it'll kind of give you an explanation, but it's not us. And sometimes we're not even near there. And we hear it sometimes in real time. And then we got it in some random places, like a private hospital, a bowling alley in Illinois. So even a private home in Illinois.
In somebody's private home.
Yeah. So I think it's connected to us, and I don't know what it is.
And then it would
Yeah.
be trying to figure out the who, like who it's most connected to.
Yeah. And here's another private home, Monroe. And then just recently, and yeah, there's a gap here, but again, this was COVID. So, I tell people, a lot of times when there's a gap, we weren't investigating or, life happens. So I thought maybe we got rid of it, but no, back in March, we got it again. And I'm not
Have you talked to
investigating.
it?
No, which is a
Like
good
ask
point.
it specific questions like, hey, we can tell that you're trying to reach out to us
Oh.
and this isn't working. Can you do it in a different way? Like, I wonder if you talk to it to see
That's
if
a good
maybe-
idea. No, we haven't. No.
if it would give it to you in a different way. Because it makes you feel like you're in an Adam Sandler movie where he's going to scream, all right. When they get so frustrated, they're doing all these subtle ways to get your attention. Now we're okay. So I've done the subtle. Now you're not paying attention. So here's the big stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We
It's
should
just a
No,
thought.
yeah. That's a good point. Or even during Estes, be like, who's this screech? Can you come in and
Yeah. Because I certainly, I when I was on the website, I listened to it over and over to see, if there was a thought that would come when I was listening to it. And it's bizarre.
Yeah, and with my audio, I really don't do much to it. So when I capture something, I'll clip it. I don't really manipulate the file. I don't really try to do anything to it. I just have like that raw original file. Every now and then I might try to amplify it, but I don't like to do a lot of tinkering. So this is all like the original footage and how it sounded. I don't like to play around
Yeah.
with it and speed it up or slow it down by any means. So that's just not my thing. So
We have
yeah.
someone commenting saying that it sounds like nails on a chalkboard.
Yuck.
Yeah.
That sound, right? But
Yeah.
again, every one of us
Okay.
is going to perceive differently based on our own experiences and
Yeah, and it's been 29 times that I've noticed. I mean, granted, I could have missed things, and that's since 2009. And like I said, different recorders,
That's a
different
lot.
equipment. Yeah, it is. When
It
I
is
sat
a
down
lot.
and it was like, wow, yeah.
You
You
think
need
if
like a
that's somebody
spirit
trying to
mascot.
communicate.
you have your own spirit
Yeah.
mascot that comes in to announce you guys.
Maybe.
I
Who
don't mind a
knows?
pterodactyl spirit animal.
Why not, right? Why
Right.
not? Okay, explain to me about the PRIC.
Oh,
We're
I'm
going
gonna
to
let
be mindful
Nicole
and not get us in trouble with words that we shouldn't say.
It was
Yeah, well,
it
we
was
love
made
it.
for me by one of our other one of the guys on our team who is like a
Yeah.
tech wizard, and it's
Yeah.
a play on my last name, which is Krick.
Yes.
So I'll
Yes.
let Nicole explain it a little better because I am not techno
Yeah.
person.
So so it's created by Craig Talisha, and he's out of he's in Pennsylvania, Mechanicsburg. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we see him, unfortunately, not as much as we'd like to. And we go way back, just investigating a lot of different locations with him and his wife, who sadly passed away. It's been like I think 2 years. But he created a device. I'm not sure if you heard of the Frank's box that they used kind of in the past. That Radio Shack hack was kind of the first one, and then the Frank's box. So we wanted to see. So when we use Estes Method, we use our spirit box typically, and it's digital. So it does, scan through all the different frequencies. But as Craig explained it to me, he wanted to kind of go a little bit more old school, like with how Frank's box was done and created, and try to almost use like a stereo or an analog radio that would be able to scan all the frequencies. So you wouldn't be quote unquote missing any frequencies that the digital doesn't necessarily pick up on. So I guess there's frequencies within frequencies that even though the SB7 or 11, whatever you use is scanning, it's still potentially missing some areas that the spirits may be able to communicate in. So Craig decided to create this using an analog radio, and it scans like very similar to the SB7, sounds very similar. But the cool thing about it is he kind of, let me see if I have any pictures as well. the photo gallery. Here we go. So he created this. He does have a temperature gauge within it. So again, if the spirit, our theory is trying to manipulate the box or maybe come in contact with this device, you might see the temperature go down.
Right.
Potentially on the other side, if there's any malfunctions and it's getting too hot, maybe something's going on, like maybe not paranormal, but hey, maybe you've used it too long, shut it down. And he also allows for it to sweep forward and backwards randomly. He has a linear option, as you can see here. And he has a built-in splitter that he did where you can plug in an audio recorder, and the audio recorder will hear like the real-time environment and what's scanning the same time.
Right.
So it'll be easier to hear what I'm hearing if I was listening to this with headphones. And the cool thing about this device is it's so loud, the speaker, that you don't necessarily need headphones. So if you want the whole group to listen, you can kind of run it like in that way, almost like a ghost box. And then if you want to do an Estes method, you could just plug in and just hear it through your headphones, and then use that splitter to record what you're hearing as well. So it's kind of a versatile. And the big difference is it's using that old school analog radio to scan. And it's picking up on a lot of different frequencies. He was saying that he was able to pick up on certain like wavelengths that perhaps like cell phones may use. Again, I'm not super tech savvy with this, but a little bit more functionality than what the spirit boxes can do today.
And have the results been different? Or the same, just like
we got we've used it probably 3 times, and we've gotten a couple interesting things. We got the latest is when we were using it this March, we were all listening to it like a radio, like a spirit box, and I'll play this clip. And this location, Lamont Historical Society, was used as a Civil War recruiting center. So an interesting thing came over the box. So I'll play it, or the prick as we call it.
You want to talk to somebody here?
Okay. It's still there, but not as strong. I work in molding 500 tons. Yeah.
So I have an idea. Tell me if you think it's okay. Everybody in the basement, all spread out throughout the basement. See what we get. Where are we going to run? No. I didn't go any farther than that.
Then tell me.
Is that a good idea?
I check my stuff.
Oh, that wasn't the clip. It did say we captured it saying recruiting center, which was really interesting. Maybe here it is. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Sorry.
Well, you found it?
Yeah.
Recruiting staff.
And we did use it at a private investigation. I don't have those clips up here yet. I have to get the owner's permission. And we were getting a lot of responses in Spanish, and they were significant. We were in Chicago at a private home, and we got a couple of things. We got creepy laughter. I'm hoping to get it up on the website soon. And this is all in real time, and we could all hear it because, like I said, the speaker's very loud, so you don't necessarily have to use this, just doing Estes. And we got it saying the owner's name. And I think it really does have the potential. We haven't used it too much, and I'm hoping to use it more and more. So I think we've used it like 2 or 3 times. So we literally just got it last, July. So it's really, really new in our arsenal.
I think we just need to put more of our energy into it, and in order for it to work well for us, we just have to keep with it.
And that's what I find, right? The more that you do it, it just seems to get in alignment with you, or you get in alignment with each other, and then those results end up happening. Do you guys have bucket list of places that you want to go to next, place that you haven't been to that's kind of top on your list that you're waiting to get into, that you're okay to share? Sometimes you don't want to share, right? Sometimes we need to keep things quiet. But is there a place that you'd like to get to that you haven't been to yet?
Gosh, there are scads
Yeah.
of places. With the crew, we really want to do Mackinac Island together.
Oh, have you been to Mackinac Island before?
No.
Okay.
But
so they
really
take us as Girl Guides from Ontario to Mackinac Island. And as a kid who could see spirits, it was quite a place. That would be fascinating. Mackinac Island would be great for you guys.
Yeah. So we want to do that one together. We'd like to get to Trans-Allegheny together because I don't think any of us have been there. I want to go to Chernobyl, but that's just, and I want to go to Romania, but that's just me.
Oh no, Lisa, I'm with you. I am with you. I did an episode about haunted forests, and Romania was on there.
Yeah.
Chernobyl I would do too, for sure. Nicole, did you have places?
I'd say Trans-Allegheny with the team. I'd love to go overseas. I was thinking more of like the Scotland, Ireland, England, but I mean that's like in my far bucket list. I have 2 young kids, so that's not going to work right now. But I was like, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But Trans-Allegheny is kind of like my number one right now that I really want to kind of get in because I just hear such good things about it. And I feel like our energy would be good there
as a team.
Yeah, if we all were able to connect. And Lisa unfortunately has moved further away from me. She's now in like the southern states. She's in Georgia, so she's not like a 2.5-hour drive to Indy. But I know Savannah's always been on my bucket list, Savannah, Georgia, and she's not too far. So she's going to be scoping out places for us to go in the next couple of years when I get down to see her.
Researching places is always fascinating too, right? Like researching the history of places and finding those new places that haven't been discovered yet too.
And the interesting thing is, like, I was just showing pictures of the Lamont Historical Society, old history, limestone church, a lot of history. It's about 25 miles outside of Chicago. But interesting enough, the energy there for Lisa, one of our other teammates who's a bit sensitive, since it's a museum, has a lot of artifacts that bring a different energy. So our Estes session was all over the place because I feel, and Lisa made a good point, like there was just so much story that was related to all the different artifacts and the historical pieces that we weren't just picking up on one particular spirit or maybe the resident spirits, but those that were connected to some of those items. And some items, there was a forgotten room that we called it, but they just didn't have any room to display them. So they were in like boxes in the back in the basement, and their stories not being able to be told just because there's no room. So we got a lot of random things through the Estes, but we still did get things. And it was a very active investigation overall.
And we got the horse.
A horse.
Yep. What did they call him? Big John? Big John the
Lisa,
horse?
Yeah, Lisa, you did you feel that come through the Estes? You felt that though, right?
He just came to me.
Yeah.
He was cool. Yeah. And then he came to me in a dream later. So I'm like, can you be haunted by an animal that was at a location? And somebody said, well, I think that maybe he's just living vicariously through you. He wants to travel. And so he may go places with you. And I'm like, I'm all right with that. Because
I'm not. Like, I don't know, because to me, when animals come in, it feels like when you're standing in a lake and something touches you and you don't know quite what it is, because I'm not necessarily prepared for the animals to come in. So they touch me first and it just wigs me right out. I always catch my breath and go, oh, okay. And then I have to relax and be okay. And then then those animals will show me more. But animals tend to, I appreciate when animals come in because I'm an animal lover, but it always wigs me out first.
Yeah, I see it first. So I guess if it touched me first, then I probably would wig out like you did. But no, I saw him. He was big and beautiful. He was this big draft horse. And he's like, I love my papa. He feeds me apples. He's the best. He lets me run in the field. And I wanted to be a racehorse, but I couldn't do that because I'm too big. but my papa lets me run. He goes, I love him so much, but the kids, no, not so much. I was cracking up. He was so cute. I mean, he was adorable. And when I sensed him, I looked at the guy, Jim, beside me, and I go, oh God. And he goes, what? And I go, I'm afraid to say this. You're going to laugh. And I don't know if they could see me or they could hear the audio or what, but everybody was like, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm getting a horse. And he's like, what? I go, I know, it's like Mr. Ed or something.
And you're in these locations that are haunted. You've got spirits that are coming in. And that at one point in time used to be the weird thing to talk about. And so then to feel weird about saying that you're getting an animal coming through just seems kind of, it seems silly at the same time.
It did, but I loved him. He was so pure. His spirit was so pure.
Right?
Some of the, like you said, some of these, but he was amazing. I'd love to make more contacts with animals. I really would.
I was trying to see if we have a picture of the horse.
Oh, I don't know if we do. I don't know. But he was so fun.
I feel like we've gotten things. We've gotten like what dogs?
We did at the Monroe house. There's dogs. Yeah. There's dogs
like
there that I
dogs through the EVP.
Yeah. And not very good ones. And I hear him real time too. It sounds like this puppy like whining a little bit, and then you hear him like he's like squeaking a squeak toy. And I'm like, do you guys hear? I'm constantly asking them, do you guys hear this? How can you not hear this? It's so loud. But yeah.
So why do you think that happens? Where one person in a group is going to audibly hear this, like hear it with their outside ear, not an inside ear. Like one person may hear it, but not everybody else. Is that spirit choosing that particular person to come through?
I would say at the Monroe house, it's because I'd been there more often and I'm the biggest dog lover in the group, I would think. But other than that, I have no idea why they pick and choose who hears what or who sees what, or I have no idea.
Yeah.
When I drag my sister out, she's always the one that's the most scared. And I keep telling her she needs to stop that because she's the one that will get picked on.
That's true.
Don't come in super scared, but she's always the one that tends to be a little more scared. She reminds me, Mom says you have to protect me. Like that you shouldn't come. Come. But it's fun, right? And we dragged my mom. My mom lives 8 hours-ish away from me. And she came down recently and my sister and I brought my mom out on an investigation. She's like 70. 71. And it was great. It was a great experience to have her participate, right?
Oh yeah. I see Lisa better still be doing this at 70. I'm gonna pull her out and make sure
you know
she
what?
is.
My mom
did the Estes Method. She was pretty brave.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was pretty brave. I think we got a couple pictures. We didn't pick anything up though.
Yeah, she has time. She has time because my mom is like 74, I think, and she just started experiencing stuff. She's seeing people in the house we live in now. She's walking back and forth. She's smelling cloves. A couple of nights ago, she heard my dad coughing. My sister heard him saying, hey. I'm like, okay. My dad just passed at the end of April. So I'm like, wow, he transitioned quick.
Yeah, I find they do. I find they want to reassure you that they're okay, right? And they tend to make their presence known quite a lot at the beginning.
Yeah.
So. Do you find that muscle or that sensitivity heightens the longer that you're with people, the more that you're doing this? Like, do you find, you may not have been as sensitive at the beginning and relying on the tools, and now the tools are kind of supporting what you may be picking up on with sensory wise, hear, see, feel, smell. Do you guys get smells ever when you are also on locations?
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think the more you do it, it is a muscle. You do get better at it. And it's funny because like the last place that we went, that was the private investigation, the private residence. We all walked around and I said, now I know all of you are all technical and you're logical thinking people. But I want you to walk around with me and all I want you to do is sense and tell me the first thing that comes into your head. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me that I don't care if it makes sense to you or not. Let's see what you get. And Nicole's like, I can't do this. I'm not sensitive. Yes, she is. And she's more sensitive the farther we move along, which is so much fun to watch the growth with everybody in that group. So yeah, and we all hit on separately. We all hit on the same things, which to me is evidence in and of itself. I know it doesn't count for anything for anybody that's trying to prove things scientifically, but to me, that proves that we're on the right track.
But I think that we need to give more credit to those personal experiences because that's what we're seeking out. We're seeking out a connection. We're seeking out a personal connection. We're having, and it's still personal, even if you're using the equipment. It's you that's interacting with that spirit. So, I mean, it's nice when it's recorded, when it's not recorded or we can't, but I mean, usually there's some kind of other equipment that's happening at the same time. Camera.
And I like to have equipment. I just warn people, just don't get overwhelmed by it. I feel like sometimes you might miss something if you're trying to, plug in your recorder, plug in this, look at your tri-field. Sometimes, that's why I always say try to hit record if you're going to do a session and then, pick out the equipment you want, sit there and get to it. I feel sometimes like setting up for us, like when we used to set up an extensive equipment in the past, like we missed things while we were setting up, or sometimes, go in with just a couple pieces and start doing your thing and see what you like. And you don't have to have the latest gadget and things like that. But for me, like the skeptical, and I shouldn't even say skeptical, the scientific part of me, I like to try to record as much as I can, my personal experiences too, just to get it out there. Because I want to share what I'm getting and see what other people get. But nothing, personal experiences. And that's what I warn people to, like, as we said, you may go to a location and get nothing, and that's okay. Or you might use a piece of equipment and get nothing. You might hate Estes. That's okay. Try something else or try it a couple more times and see what you like. And that's what's great. There's so many different areas to get into with paranormal and trying different new things. And you don't have to have the greatest super expensive equipment.
No, you could have coat hangers cut into
dowsing rods. Yeah, a pendulum. You don't.
And everybody's got different strengths. Everybody has different strengths. So, what works for one person is not going to work for another person. Or maybe it'll work the next time when you're around different people. There's so many variables. And when we first started doing this, 6 months ago, 20 plus years ago, I had all the bells and whistles and I had all the gadgets and all the equipment, and you lug it around, you set it up, and I was out to prove to the world that this stuff exists. I was out to prove it to, I'm going to capture it and I'm going to prove to you. And the older I get, the more I don't care whether you believe it or not. The more it becomes personal and it's about me and it's for me and it's what I want to learn. And it's not even, I say it's about me, but it's really not about me. It's about, I want to learn your stories. I'm here to sit with you and learn your story because it's about the history, and your story may have been told wrong. So now it's time to get it out there the right way. I've had a person at a location tell me that I've been telling the story wrong. So I was able to change it and tell it the correct way. It's about the history, and the history are about the people, and we need to open ourselves up and my body is my tool now. Basically, that's that. I take that, an audio recorder and a flashlight, and I'm good to go.
Yeah. And I find, like when I'm doing sessions for people, my intention, I said it out loud, and I'll say it to the client as well too, that my intention when I'm working, it's in the highest good, greatest interest, and the most amount of healing for everyone, including those people in spirit. So if it's an investigation, I still have that same intention that I'm being of service for something bigger than me, and making sure that it's not about me when I'm on those investigations, right? So
Yeah.
I think those sorts of intentions do matter. Like it keeps sort of, it tries to keep your ego in, it keeps your ego in check, hopefully, you know?
Yeah. And that's a very good way to put it. That's a very good way to put it. I like that. I'm stealing it.
It's okay. You can steal it. It's a sharing moment. It's because I'm learning from you guys today too, right? Like I'm learning from you guys too, and I appreciate that. And when you're putting it out, I'm telling you, when I went to the site and I saw you guys laughing, and that you were so transparent, like it doesn't always work. Here's our bloopers. I'm like, these are the people for me.
We have a lot. I feel like we have a lot of bloopers. So if anyone needs a good laugh,
oh my gosh, the
and even
raccoon
pictures,
one
we
cracks
joke
me
around,
up.
Oh yeah, that's Lisa's. Yeah, Lisa's sister. Oh no, we were screaming. There was a raccoon in the wall, a real train. We have a lot. We have a lot of good ones.
And again, that's real life. Like that's a real, those sorts of things really do happen on an investigation, and not everyone, you know, what you see on media is curated and edited, and it doesn't always look like that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the porta potty. That's pretty funny.
I'm trying to see everybody. Yeah. We have a lot of good ones. I mean, we have a good time, which I think helps too. Because it's that energy. Here's a good one of Lisa and I. Oh.
So much fun. This has been great. Thank you guys for agreeing. I'd love to have you back on again at another point in time and just continue that conversation, the more experiences that we have. So next week, I have Nicholas Pearson coming on talking about crystals, crystal basics, and talking about crystals next week, which is exciting. So thank you for tuning into the show. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you to you guys. I appreciate it so very much that you were on the show. And a big shout out to United the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Network on 105.3 and 107.7 in New Orleans.
Thank you.